I didn't know how empty my soul was until I brutalized some peasants. RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Old World Classic campaign. SFO Grimhammer 3 Bretonnia. For those who may have not heard, SFO's next patch will have a Bretonnia update, which focuses on differentiating the Bretonnian legendary lords from each other, and includes a bunch of changes that I guess we're about to see, as Venrus has kindly given me early access to the build. Now, Bretonnia does need a little bit of extra love, so I did ask you guys for compatible mod suggestions, and we'll be using several of them for this run, including, as you can probably tell, the extra legendary lords, Bertrand the Brigand to have access to a bunch of outlaw units, and the Caravan mod, because I love the Caravans, as well as a few others. And tempting though all of these extra lords were, I wanted to experience SFO's new changes, so I decided on the Fay Enchantress, as she is the more unique of these 3 lords. Anyway, the mod list will be in the description below as usual. Very quick plugs before we start. Check out our Discord and join the Ruinous host. Consider joining the channel or becoming a Patreon to get access to perks like exclusive votes, or support the channel by purchasing games through our affiliates in the description below. Big shout out to the modders, and as always, the biggest of shout outs to you guys for your comments and support. Now, let's see what SFO's new update has for the faction. Faction-wise, SFO gives all Bretonnia lords unique techs, buildings, and Green Knight skills. Morgiana's own faction has extra peasant availability, unique rights available to her depending on some dilemma choices, bonus relationship with the Wood Elves, unsurprisingly, as well as +5 recruit ranks for prophetesses and damsels, again unsurprisingly. Most importantly of all, we have access to the Blessing of the Fay ability, faction-wide, which confers a large heal and magical attack imbuement for, well, all her armies. For her personal force, a little bit simpler. Bonus chivalry per turn and decorruption, free damage resistance and fear for Morgiana herself, as well as a massive +25 melee attack for the unwashed masses, i.e. her frenzied peasant mobs. As well, an additional use of that faction-wide heal for her own army, which I'm sure will come in very handy for keeping those peasant mobs fighting. I don't think the Grail Guardians are gonna need the help. Otherwise, setup, we're going with a very hard, now called Challenge in SFO, as I find that to be the sweet spot. AI stats modified all the way to the max as usual, and that's about it. All glory to the algorithm, and let's get to it.
Dark are these times, and dark my mood.
Alrighty, here we go. I'm sure everyone else's mood will be a lot darker, but mine isn't, because it's time for some good old-fashioned peasant-oppressing action. With Morgiana in the lead, though we will have a lot more peasants to oppress, thanks to the peasant economy here. So, before we get started, very briefly how they play, we have the chivalry mechanic, obvious, for Bretonnia. Basically, certain actions and buildings raise or lower this currency, which will confer faction-wide buffs and allows us to play around with the Green Knight, which incidentally, as part of the SFO rework, also has some techs and stuff to go through, and probably works a little bit differently. We'll check all that out as soon as we get access to it. Achieving heroic victories, which I would think would probably be a little bit easier with a pile of peasants. I will confer the Blessings of the Lady, which is, I believe, a 10% towards save buff, or some kind of buff basically that we will check out as soon as we get our first victories of these kinds. We complete challenges in order to activate the Knightly Vows and Troughs, which give buffs to lords and heroes in this manner. of various kinds, decent buffs, and of course also confer upkeep reductions for the various knights for the lords. Now, keep in mind, based on some suggestions from you guys, I do have a mod to auto-manage these because, frankly, it does get extremely tedious over in the late game when you have to deal with like a million billion of these. Lastly, I believe we have the peasant economy, which is, like I said, a big part of this faction. We gotta maintain a balance between our armies and our farms. Actually, this is a pretty good description of what this is. We also have the valor currency in SFO, which is used for special techs or specific techs here, as well as upgrades for our knights via the scrap upgrade system. And lastly, similar to Norska, we have the sort of unique building chains, which enable us to get access to higher tier units earlier, which is really quite lovely as well. Anyway, that's about it. We gotta get into our first fight, but before we do that, two things. First of all, Sir Amalric here is a unique unit from one of the mods, or a unique hero from one of the mods. I don't remember which, whether it's Mixu's or whether it's Lords of Bretonnia, but ultimately it will help us out here because he's gonna go into the Fay Enchantress's army, and I do believe he will buff the Battle Pilgrims. The other thing is we will immediately want to get Bertrand the Brigand on field. He is technically speaking a legendary lord, and we will want him leveling up as he'll obviously start at level 1, and we'll get him his heroes essentially as soon as we can afford them. Now, it's time to get our first battle going. So, we have the channeling stance, which will do not really all that much for us here, and the crusade will give us +5 attack just for cavalry at a loss of melee defense, so basically not worth it for this first fight. Alright, guess we're fighting in our current manner. I wonder if we should spend some of the valor to do anything to the Grail Guardians, but I'm too... Oh, wait, hello. We've also got rights... Oh, and the Caravan mod. Okay, wait, okay, you know what, we'll deal with those after we fight. We gotta fight, and then we can deal with stuff. Go.
It is a great deed we must do today. Should they win this day, Bretonnia will be naught but ruins. For victory!
Alrighty, huh? Did the Fay Enchantress just accelerate a lot? Oh, she's got 60 movement speed, which is a fair bit, but I guess when you don't have to walk, it's probably a lot easier. Anyway, here we go. The first battle, though I think just the Grail Guardians alone would be able to kill every single unit in the enemy army without taking a single casualty. A massive disparity in the troop quality compared to these tier 5 monsters. Plus, we got our Sir Amalric de Gauderon on field here, who seems to have a questing knight-like setup, at least on his horse, and he has a nice little, I don't know what to call this, like a Pope candle hat atop his helmet, which is frankly pretty magnificent. Oh, and it's got the Grail on it as well. Lovely. Lovely indeed. We'll see how well he works and what he can do with his traits, but we'll check all that out obviously after we do the first fight. So, the first fight begins with the Grail Guardians smashing through the line of orcs, and they may as well not be there, and then smashing through the line of the second, I'm sure. There we go, then repositioning, accelerating, and then hitting the Goblin Archers. Beautiful, dishing out about 30% of their HP and damage, and then charging on to the next one. The rest of our army is, of course, on the approach, and we will want to also silence the Doom Diver catapults, as it's pretty critical that they obviously don't fire into our more vulnerable peasantry, or frankly, don't fire at anybody. Alright, our own artillery are providing support with those blessed trebuchets firing away at whatever non-melee units they can reach. And because the melee units will soon be tied up with our own melee units. In the meantime, our two paladins are trying to face off against the enemy lord and are now surrounded by the blob of units, while our infantry has arrived, with, of course, Lady Morgiana leading the pack of peasants. And just the battle pilgrims here. Huh. Blue and orange for the Carcassonne colors, eh? Well, hopefully it'll be decent enough. Oh, also, I was in the Scarbrand campaign talking about grabbing the banner mod, or a banner mod, because I missed having these in, for when we had them in Total Warhammer 2. I think I used a captain mod, or was it a banner mod? I don't know. And of course the Grail Guardians choose that moment to charge directly into the screen. But anyway, we got the banner carriers, or banner, whatever. Standard bearer, that's the word I was looking for. Anyway, it looks like the Grail Guardians have essentially put most of the greenskins to flight. The enemy lord is still kicking with about 50% of his HP, but he hasn't actually done any damage to our paladins, even if it is taking him a while to bring him down. But paladins do have a tendency to be more of a sort of defensive hero, which does make sense with their melee defense outpacing, or, you know, outdoing their melee attack in terms of pure damage. Also, what do we have here? Bane of the Undead on Suramoric. We will make good use of this, I'm sure, as we do have the Ghost of Glan Boreal faction nearby. But for now, it's the Greenskins, or it was the Greenskins, as with that, the enemy army shatters, and the first battle is ours. Alrighty, there we go. First battle, of course, is pretty much unlosable, but with the Fay Enchantress, who starts with a unit of frickin' Grail Guardians, getting 370 kills and 47,000 damage, completely unsurprisingly. Good luck to really almost any starting army in the game. Fay Enchantress got a solid 105 kills herself, and decent work out of some of our peasants. The two paladins were having a little bit of a difficult time knocking down Mr. Nagbad the Fungi Botherer. Might actually be one of my favorite names. Definitely top 3 favorite names from, I don't know if this is the name generator of this guy is a unique lord, but come on, Nagbad the Fungi Botherer. That's fantastic. Not quite as good as Chungus Gut Rubber, the legendary ogre, but, or of course Dick Booty Catcher, nobody will ever pick it anyway. Magnificent. Anyway, we are going to, I guess we can lose a little bit of chivalry in the early game, because we'll need early game money to sort of kickstart our economy and all that, but anyway. Now, we've got a lot of stuff to take a look at. I just wanted to make sure that we got into our first battle as fast as possible, because I have a tendency to get excited. Right, so we'll start with this. What do we have here? So, we have the various Lady of the Lake / Fay Enchantress right here. This Vision of Magic is really nice, especially with the early game research bonuses. However, we would get effectively no mileage out of the construction costs and construction time until we actually have some settlements. So I think I'd rather save this and pop off Vision of Future. And this will immediately give us the growth. The casualty or punishment rate and exceptional protection obviously are nice, though this is a known territory, it doesn't matter over much, but I'd take, if this was nothing but growth, I would still take it. Although the replenishment is admittedly very useful. Yes, form right. Then, in SFO, you always want to uncollect the income in your starting territories, because this increases your growth at the cost of no income, but in the early game it doesn't really matter over much. Next, we will want to select a caravan route, and ooh, yes, free company. I like it. I like it a lot. One of the things I really wanted extra units out of was either, you know, Empire Militia or even Sartosan units. It would be nice with us as well. And we'll make use of the free company at the very least in one of our caravans. And I know some people don't like the caravan system and complain about it in its current iteration. I love the caravan system because it gives you extra battles against extra enemies with units that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily be able to use, so I'm very happy about this mod. Anyway, we will increase our money, and I guess we're going straight to the South Bank, as in Altdorf. I do wonder, does this version of the caravan system confer any items or units or something at the end of each road? I guess we'll find out. Dispatch, assuming you survive, of course. Actually, do want to check out one thing though. What about other lords? Welcomed in Lothern. You get high elf units. Oh, this is, I love it. I absolutely love it. Granted, they're basic high elven units, but we'll still enjoy it very much, I'm sure. Alright, so that was the caravan. Next, we'll want to select a tech. And gotta go with economic investment. I don't even need to see what this says. Yeah, it's the chivalric code. I assume it's not plus 50 chivalry per turn. It's just straight up, or is it? If it's per turn, it's a fair bit. It would enable us to build, well, nonetheless, this is growth, so it won't matter over much. Ooh, and construction costs for all buildings? Yeah, looking at that economy stuff immediately. Then, Fay Enchantress, you are in reach of the Dragon Falls here, so you will head here immediately. And is there anything else we want to do? There is one thing. I would like to check out what we're looking at in terms of our legendary lords/heroes. So you have a big old tree. Most of this appears to be identical to that of the paladins, or me, I think. Let me just double check here. Yeah, so the Blinding Majesty and my Vow, and you have the same sort of thing. Oh, actually, wait. You also have a Fighty line, and you can get both my Vow and Blinding Majesty. Alright, fair enough. And then you have a unique line as well. You're going to be extremely point hungry, sir. But the important stuff for the Fay Enchantress is going to be this. The buffs for the Battle Pilgrims and Grail Relics, as that is going to be a big portion of her army. Bertrand, of course, will be our sort of, well, peasant brigand leader. I'm thinking that perhaps what we might want to do is essentially have the brigands infest the mountains, which are yellow territories, and just sort of, you know, roleplay that aspect of them. Not having sort of brigand camps or highwaymen camps or outlaw camps or whatever the buildings are called that confer the brigand camps. Close enough. Plus, we should also have a SFO-centric building, which is only for minor settlements. But anyway, build them in the mountains away from Bretonnia proper, essentially. I think that should be the way we do it. Anyway, Fay Enchantress, I'm now realizing that, you know what I should have done? If I had not gotten Bertrand immediately, what we could have done is gotten a prophetess pretty much right away. And what this would have done is enabled us to immediately get the tier 4 unlocked. So the Holy Wardens of La Maison Tal would have been immediately usable. Oh, actually, starting at rank 6 for the Fay Enchantress means we would have also immediately been able to get the Mounted Yeoman. Interesting. Anyway, this is not worth fighting, so I think I'm going to auto-resolve it. I'm going to hope it doesn't... Yeah, it's fine. Too badly damage our peasants, as odd as that seems. Occupy. And we can have a free scroll of leeching. There's the Bowmen of Bergerac, and in theory, at rank 2, you will have auto-unlocked... Okay, wait, no, you start with your stuff unlocked. You will have auto-unlocked your first Knight's Vow. And the mod makes it so I believe they're unlocked at rank 2, 5, and 10 automatically, so we don't have to select every single hero throughout the entire campaign and deal with that, because it's a huge hassle. Anyway, training for you, replenish troops for you, and you... Blessed Water. Blessed Bathwater. Research rate plus 10. I mean... Ooh, Winds of Magic Power Reserve Capacity plus 20, but we don't have maxed out anyway. Ooh, actually, I wonder. Can we channel? Yes, we can. Alrighty, beautiful. I usually would get Inspiring Presence immediately, but I think I'm going to start with a bonus research. It's not a lot, but every turn will add up now that we have the surplus thing, ever since it's been added. If you're channeling Fay Enchantress, that means we'll have to use Bertrand to recruit some stuff. As for what we will want to recruit, we'll definitely want at least one more Battle Pilgrim, but I think we can turn the basic men-at-arms into Battle Pilgrims once they rank, or can they? Wait. I assume that... I assume that you can become a Battle Pilgrim or a Mounted Yeoman, which would make sense. And I don't think we'd need a sword variant, because we'd have the Battle Pilgrims in this army anyway, which would essentially be the same role. We could also build some spear variants. Let's go 2 spear variants and 1 sword variant for an additional one of these to battle pilgrimize. Assuming we don't just recruit them. It's all good. Although I can see them becoming battle pilgrims. Anyway, I believe that's it. A little bit of a long first turn. Ooh, wait, actually. There is diplomacy to do. And Tancred II de Quenelle is fighting Talzin, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we could probably take his gold before he dies.
Let us exchange courtesies.
Yeah, 2.3k.
Great honor or glory.
Is Brigand willing to trade? Yes, they are. Alright, so we'll do Brigand first.
To serve my own at the lady's disposal.
And then Quenelle.
Savior of the
Yeah, alright, we'll do this. And Talzin will be upset about this, but I think it'll still be worth our time. We want to do the military access as well. We'll see how upset Talzin gets about it. Yeah, we'll do this. All of the traits. Like so. Alright, and I believe that's all we can do for now. Yes, fair enough. Also, some of the modded lords look pretty neat by the looks of it. And we'll just have to see about how they work and all that if we get any of them. Anyway, I do believe now we can end the turn. The caravan's out. The Fay Enchantress has to move towards Ferignac or Brigand now. Presumably the former first because it is walled and it's better to take it as fast as possible. Oh, and I guess next turn we'll want to summon that prophetess lord at rank 6 anyway. I do want to unlock the Wardens of La Maison Tall. I'm so glad that we have Old World Classic. While I would like an actual full Old World campaign, but with just the Realms of Chaos removed. I feel like they're completely unnecessary and they add an unnecessary amount of time to the end turns, but with Old World Classic we're sort of at a similar rate. This is an SFO starting of the campaign thing. I usually do Time of Balance nowadays, which confers no additional buffs to the player because the player doesn't need them. And would you look at that, our first army for our first caravan. I wonder if this is the same as the Cathan caravans. I want to give this a read. Fog has descended around our caravan. The smell-less putrid and shuffling shapes can be glimpsed in the haze. This land around us teems with their shambling forms. We have stumbled unwittingly into the domain of the undead. These creatures can be confronted head-on and the wretches put down for good, or alternatively, we can order some of our number to distract them while we make our escape, though they will ultimately have no hope against the necrotic masses. Although I do feel like this is absolutely something that the Bretonnians would do, sacrifice a bunch of peasants to get eaten horribly by the undead, it's a nice early game fight by the looks of it, and I think we'll want to fight it, so destroy them all. Alright, and we'll do the battle.
The lady rewards valor. Show her that yours shines most bright.
Ooh, alright. I like the yellow and red sort of color scheme that this guy has, especially with the black and yellow barding that the horse has. It looks pretty darn good. Anyway, here we go. I love the fact that we're going to get some caravan battles. And I do expect this should be a pretty fun one against the giant piles of zombies and generally the undead. Though, unfortunately, I did not yet get the mod that gets the, well, I didn't think it needed one, but apparently the HP on these guys should be higher, so it might be that we need an SFO compatibility mod for this. Not that I think it'll make that much of a difference even without SFO stats on some of these units, because it doesn't affect the knights, and they're the important damage dealers here. Speaking of, the knights of course charge in from two directions, sending zombies flying every which way. The enemy fellbats close the distance with our lord, but just as they do, we essentially pincer them from both directions with our knights of the realm. They may not be Grail Guardians, but they will certainly dish out the damage and tear those bats to shreds, like nobody's business. And on top of that, the bats are pretty much the critical targets in this particular enemy army, as, 28 melee attack. And I got Frenzy on him, eh? Nice. Enable to flying, bonus versus large plus 10. Oh, that's actually quite interesting. Go figure. I have to keep that in mind. Anyway. This is why the bats are the big threat in this particular army. They will fly over our army and touch down upon the poor peasant archers, who they will tear to shreds rather rapidly. We'll fire backwards thanks to our Free Company militia, and then immediately charge the bats with our piles of peasant or men-at-arms. I mean, they are peasants, with sword and board. But we'll take about 50% HP damage on our archer unit. In the meantime, of course, our units of cavalry are still doing good work. We're trying to chase down the enemy necromancer with our own lord, who has gotten him to about 50% of his HP. And the enemy is trying to chase our units of knights around with those skeleton spears. They do have a solid 15 bonus versus large, and we are not engaging them with the Knights of the Realm. And we're just going to back off and keep going after the zombies and other fragile units. There we go. And not get stuck in against the piles of enemy skeleton spears until we have other units to come in and help. Fortunately, the rest of the army is moving in. Does look like one of the enemy units of skeleton spears is actually peeled away from the main enemy force, so we pin it in place with a unit of halberdiers. That's Imperial halberdiers, that is. And then fire into their flanks with one of our units of Free Company militia and one unit of archers. Hopefully not killing too many of our halberdiers in the process, but, you know, you gotta spend halberdiers to make something, I don't know. Anyway, the skeleton spears are pretty much out of the picture here, and we have been forced to back off away from the enemy necromancer, but that's alright, we got other things to do. Charge right through. Have the Lord try to go after the Necro while our Knights continue to go after the zombies. The second unit of skeleton spears has been pinned at this point by another unit of our halberdiers. And we even rear charge them with our units of Knights in order to do a little bit of work that way. Lovely. The rest of our units have arrived, and the sword-wielding units of men-at-arms, with their probably relatively small anti-infantry bonus, but anti-infantry bonus nonetheless, should have no problem cutting down the enemy zombies. Not quite Tarpit versus Tarpit, of course, because these are not peasant mobs, but nonetheless. And hey, well, this guy's got the banner right there. Good for him. This, hopefully he doesn't get surrounded and killed by these zombies carrying the banner. Or the standard, whatever. Anyway, the bounce power shifts to about 90% in our favor, and though we are still in the fight, I don't expect we will be so for all that much longer. The spears are still being focused down, but it looks like they're in pretty darn bad shape. The last unit of spears has now arrived and has now been pinned by a second unit of halberdiers. And we will fire into them with the two units of archers, firing into their backs as they face off against those halberds, while the Knights deal with all the zombie piles. And though it is taking a while, that's kind of what the zombies are for. We'll be doing some of the same with the peasant mobs in the Fay Enchantress's army, and since she buffs them with so much melee attack, it'll feel wrong not to have some. Anyway, another nice rear charge into all those zombies. Although there are no further zombies past these guys, so I can't quite charge through them towards another unit, but that's alright. It's damage we're looking to do now anyway, and it's not like they're going to be a major threat to the relatively heavy 72 from 90? Yeah, 90 armor of the Knights of the Realm. Actually, with 90 armor, Knights of the Realm probably could use additional armor on recruitment, so I'll have to keep that in mind. But anyway, the zombies are just about out of the picture, and I believe are melting away as the enemy lord has at last been cut down by Esteban, our lord here. And it's just a matter of running out the clock. Disintegration is a little bit slower in SFO than it is in vanilla, so it's going to take a little bit, but the last of the zombies should go very soon. Yeah, look at all those banner carriers together. Having a little banner meeting. This actually looks great. Alright, anyway, with that, the last skeleton melts, and the battle is ours. I don't know, for some reason the skeleton's face is not, it doesn't look menacing to me. It reminds me of the Willem Dafoe looking up meme. I'm not sure why. Kind of hard to confer an expression onto a skeleton, but I don't know, just there it is. Anyway. Alright, there we go. A nice little fight for our caravan, and, well, those who have seen any of my other campaigns will know that I love fighting the vampire counts almost as much as I love playing them, so that was a nice little boon. You get your level 2, and we'll lose a little bit of chivalry for a little bit of extra money. Not the biggest of deals, because we gain, what, 30 chivalry from battles, and the loss of the 10 is not a, well, not a huge detriment to us. Here we will go into the Crusade stance, go as close to Ferrignac as possible, and, ooh, wait, actually, should I perhaps have, you know what, can you still, yes, channel, you need to channel. And then Bertrand, I would like you to perhaps recruit some stuff, if we have the money. So first of all, you will transfer the Fay Enchantress your troops here. Then, actually, we'll have enough money to get Guy Le Gros and Hugo Le Petit. We do have 2 training fields as well, but we would need Valor in order to construct the higher tiers, but it would be nice to just be able to get access to, at the very least, men-at-arms with the longbows faster. Especially since we have access to greater peasant economy than other factions, which would mean that we are free to delete the training field, but we'll yeah, we'll want to replace it with growth, probably. I want to spam growth as much as possible in our first province to get those chapels of the Lady, or shrines of worship, or cathedral of the Lady. Grail shrine, whatever. I said all the right words, just in the wrong combination or the wrong order. Oh, and we get a Friar hero from Bertrand's mod as well. Bertrand, whatever. Let's see. So we can build the growth thing, and I guess that's what we'll be starting with. We can't build really anything else at tier 1 anyway, so may as well grow as fast as we can. Man, there's a lot of buildings to pick through. Good stuff. Ooh. Units recruited in this province have a permanent +10 armor bonus. Okay, so really any peasants that we build for our final armies will probably want to be constructed with the additional armor, because really the peasants need all the armor they can get, whereas the knights, they don't care so much. And besides, with the knights, we are free to perhaps, where is the Warband upgrade? No, not this. We are perhaps free to, we have a separate little line for the, for all of the little, peasant mobs can turn into brigands. That's interesting. That's very interesting indeed. For all the brigand units. Erimo units. Yes, so we can go straight from Knight Errant all the way through the different knight types and level up over the course of a campaign if we wanted to. Certainly something to think about. Anyway, the thing that I wanted to do was go into Lord, go into Prophetess, and see what we have here. If there's anything interesting. Growth +10 experience for non-knight units. This could be a Prophetess we use as a recruiter lord that we get up and running immediately. Ooh. Upkeep production -20% for Lord's army. This would be very nice for a knightly army. Though, funnily enough, the Beast Lore would be best for peasantry. And ooh. Huh. Now this is really nice as well. And the Beast Lore would also be... Damn. Looks like Beasts is being favored here, but, you know, over-reliance on Lore of Life makes it a little bit boring. Anyway, we'll start with Shepherd here. This should, yes, unlock the Holy Wardens of La Maison Tal. I almost said something Slaaneshi. And Wardens of Montfort. And Bertrand, you can get the Bowmen of Bergerac. It's a fair bit of... what the cost of this? I guess we could do that next turn. Anyway, Inez, you... Let's see. We have income from farms, local region. What do we have here? Ooh, melee defense for melee infantry faction wide. That'll be quite lovely. But assuming you're our recruiter lord, we have control. Ah, you don't have growth? That's a little bit unfortunate. At least you have some growth off of this. Alright, so we'll go for Root Marcher. We will obviously want to grab Inspiring Presence, and rather than Justiciar, I think we can do... Well, frankly, we'll want all of this. Is there any growth here? Ah, yes there is. Steward of the Realm. Alright. And construction cost reduction for province capitals. Yeah, I think this is a good use of our time. I'm going to say start with the recruitment reduction. And then we can follow that up with the farm and the industry stuff as well. And this needs to be rank 10, so we'll need to start saving points fairly quick because, oh, we'll want both Arcane Wisdom and Muster the Farmhands. And actually, by virtue of the fact that we have Arcane Wisdom here, I think if we can get some more lords of this type as fast as possible, it'll allow us to bypass having to steal tech, which I would really prefer. Because it's such a hassle moving all those heroes around. Anyway, we need... You know what we need? We need the building to build the frickin' peasant mobs, which we can't automatically do without a farm, I guess. I want at least one more man-at-arms with sword, and I guess one, yeah, let's go. One man-at-arms with sword, one bow. And that's it. We'll need to save the rest of the space. Okay, end turn. I hope I didn't forget anything, but it's too late now. And I suppose we'll also want to take a look at our diplomacy again, and we'll also probably want to send heroes out. Unfortunately, the Bretonnians are short one regular legendary lord, as Rapunzel de Lyonnaise is not here, and because she starts in the desert. But because of all the additional Bretonnian lords we have thanks to the mods, we should be reasonably happy about all that. Also, do we know Talzin? Can we talk to them immediately? Ooh, what do we have here? Handgunners or Pistoliers? Oh, that's a hard choice. Oh man, I absolutely love Pistoliers. They're one of my favorite units, but I feel like this army needs damage. Damage that isn't just knights. And a way to take down potentially single entities, and I think we gotta go with handgunners. Plus, the shield breaker would enable the Free Company of Militia and Peasant Bowmen to do more work than the Pistoliers would. Though normally I would take Pistoliers because they can chase down units and just be very irritating, and I adore them. But anyway, Missile Warriors. Oh, I love the caravan system. Anyway, Gilagos and Hugo Le Petit. You guys can go into this army. Here. And here.
I see.
Then, Fay Enchantress, we will grab the Holy Wardens and the Wardens of Montfort in your army and lose all of our gold. We will also then upgrade Castle Carcassonne and immediately build our first farm. Yeah, we need the growth. And then Inez, I would like you to transfer to the Fay Enchantress all of this stuff.
My steps are guided.
Like so. Then we will use the... I was going to have you get on field, but we don't have enough space. Alright, fair enough. Verignac. Oh, wow, you have like nothing. Huh, go figure. You don't have Siege Attacker, do you? I didn't think you would, but I guess just had to check it. Anyway, you're going to go here. You guys are going to leech in a second. At least while you're here. And I guess we're not sacking this, so it'll probably take 2 turns to get down to Brigand now. But that's the nature of Old World and the distances therein. We should have Siege Attacker, yes, because we have the Blessed Field Treb. Alright, you guys go here. And you go here. We'll auto-resolve this because obviously... And the peasantry will take some damage, but yeah, this would have otherwise been a waste of time. Pit Fighter for the Fay Enchantress. You two can also end the turn on channeling stance here. You don't need to recruit anymore, and we'll just keep leeching for a little bit before we get the peasant building and then send you off somewhere, or the brigand building rather. Now, diplomacy. Gisoro. Yeah, of all the modded lords, I think Hagen de Gisoro looks absolutely incredible. It's so incredible that I was tempted to play him, but hopefully we'll get him one way or another. You. Although, admittedly, if Lewin gets them all, then Lewin gets them all, whatever.
Welcome to the land of chivalry, where there is feast.
We're really the ones in charge anyway. You can get the non-aggression pact. I hate to pay you gold for it, though. You know, let's just get the trade agreement. We don't have any trade goods to offer yet, but eventually we will be... Ooh. Oh wow, yeah, Quinnell's getting wrecked by Ah, they're toward where the neck snap is. That's interesting. Oh, they have a very similar icon to the bad axes. I thought we were going to have to fight them both. Well, we will have to fight them both, but, you know. I believe we're not going for the defensive alliance with you.
Loyal to the lion.
Warherd of the Famine Fiend. Wow. Cornell looks like it's kind of doomed here. But whatever. Anyway, Fay Enchantress, since you've been wanting to channel a little bit more, I'm going to say we're going to pop into Secrets of the Grail to max out your magics. Although we could always do it later. You know what? Let's actually get Inspiring Presence first. I'm gonna hope it doesn't come back to bite me because we're gonna be if we're just out of range of this place. Would be unfortunate. But not surprising. Anyway, I believe we're good. So let's end the turn. And I think the caravan should either reach its destination either this turn or next turn. And provide a little bit of that extra cash as well. Alright, looking good on new attacks. I was wondering whether the orcs would try to use underway stance to appear in this territory, maybe try to reclaim the territory they'd lost, but we're okay, at least for now. I also wonder, do any of the trade goods do anything crazy good for us? Salt, nothing crazy. But, oh, pastures? I assume reductions for... Okay, well, it disappeared, but it was reductions. For... this is probably worthy of a fight. Black Orc units? Yes, the handgunners were the right choice, especially since this is the great weapon variant. Reductions for cavalry. Anyway, draw weapons. We fight once more. Close defeat, you say. I would assume that the game values the Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins and the Black Orcs pretty highly. Let's see whether it's appropriately highly. Go.
Lady rewards valor. Show her that yours shines most bright.
Alrighty, here we go. Another caravan battle and more time to play around with our Knights of the Realm, which we don't as yet have in our other armies, which once again is one of the great things about having caravan battles. Whichever faction you may want to use them. Man, this is strongly reminding me of the Lewin campaign. I wonder if we'll be beating any of the insane charges we got in that campaign and this one, but it's what Bretonnia is all about, and damn well do they do it well. Poor little gobos. Unprotected by the Black Orcs and the unprotected by the Black Orcs and the Boar Boy Biggins. These two units get immediately charged through by both units and completely wiped out on the charge. Then, of course, the enemy lord and oh wow, 77 melee attack and 55 melee defense. The heck? That is a fair bit stronger, better stats and poison than our lord by a fairly wide margin. Huh, good for him. Well, either way, we have to get away from those Black Orcs, so we'll keep riding around while we set the trap for the units of Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins. I figured they'd try to get around us, but they did not, so our halberdiers aren't quite there and ready to meet them, but that's alright, as our handgunners will fire into their ranks and flanks. And the Boars will attempt to back off to escape bullet and arrow alike. And the halberdiers, which are now approaching, to mob them as best they can. In the meantime, our knights have moved away from those Black Orcs and have once again charged into mobs of Orc Error Boys. Now this time around, we don't have too long in terms of being able to fight them, as the Black Orcs are on the approach. But we'll do our best to kill off a few and then get back into the fray afterwards. Besides, we'll probably want to lead the Orcs to the handgunners anyway. Alright, another nice charge through a blob. Looks like the enemy Boar Boys are still in the fight, and perhaps unsurprisingly, as these are Savage Orcs, and with that 40% physical resistance, it's rather difficult to do any considerable amount of damage to them. At least with what we currently have. And especially in the early game, they are a very, very nasty unit. Well, frankly, they're a nasty unit throughout the game. Either way, though, they're now going to have a difficult time escaping, as they are trapped now by the Knights of the Realm and continuously taking a range fire. They're shaken, though they are now immune to psychology. Wait, do Knights cause fear? Like, do basic Knights cause fear? No. Huh. Does Alberic give them cause fear? I swear I've seen Knights of the Realm do fear before, but I could be imagining things. Anyway, I suppose it's not that important. What is that the bounce power has shifted to about 70% in our favor. Our Free Company militia have taken a nice position up on the hill and are firing down into the enemy, while our knights continue to back off from those Black Orcs. But at the same time, not allow the enemy to do any real damage to, well, our knights. And frankly, not a lot of damage to our main line, with the sole exception of our lord, who foolishly attempted to duel or fight the enemy lord, and who got absolutely demolished, and is going to rout. But that's alright, I suppose, because we got other units to do the work. More charges coming in from the Knights of the Realm, who are up to a solid 232 kills on one. I charge on in, kill a few of those Orc arrow boys, and then back off, trying to draw that Black Orc line towards our waiting handgunners, who are nicely positioned to take advantage of the slate elevation here. And there we go, the Black Orcs are moving into range now, and the handgunners both a volley, taking about 25 to 30% of their HP. Our knights continuing to taunt the Black Orcs as they send gobos and the occasional Black Orc flying, and then back off once more without losing a unit. Looks like the Black Orcs are annoyed enough now to try to charge our infantry, having given up on ever reaching the cav, which frankly they should have done from the start. The Free Company militia fired down on them from uphill, of course, as well, and the Black Orcs couldn't chase them as they are on skirmish mode right now. Now the halberdiers who were chasing down those enemy boar boys will pin the Black Orcs in place and allow our gunners to do the work. As slightly odd as this feels for a start to a Bretonnia campaign, but hey, it's the Bretonians and the Imperials working together, which when they're not, you know, having minor skirmishes against each other, and or at least some of their lords, and does happen on occasion. Anyway, there we go. With that, the Black Orcs shatter, the enemy lord shatters, and the battle is ours. Now we gotta find some fights for the Fay Enchantress, not just the caravan. Alrighty, there we go, a monstrous amount of kills from the Knights of the Realm, but I mean, by and large, they were just attacking the gobos, and the rest of our army played stay the heck away from those Black Orc units until we were able to gun them down with our newly acquired handgunners, a little bit of help from the Free Company militia as well. Absolute credit where it's due to Arog One Finger, though, that Night Goblin war boss absolutely tore Esteban here to shreds with the poison application and I think 25 more attack or something than our own lord has. That is one dangerous gobbo. Anyway, 1100 money, certainly worthy of our attention, and oh, 2 more turns to reach the. All right, fine, fair enough. Oh, they're stuck over Bergenhafen. I guess we were the shadows over Bergenhafen all along. Anyway, you will want to grab Inspiring Presence first, though of course we'll go for all the other stuff afterwards. Gotta go with the blue line. Just out of curiosity, Strider for Lord's Army, that's nice. Theme the Tusker, attribute immune to psychology. That'll help any of the peasant unit. Ah, that makes sense as to why that we have this. This will help the peasants by having them have immune to psychology without having to worry about not having a Grail relic in the army. Makes sense. Alright, anyway, what else do we have? In terms of this turn, I mean, you guys are, I take it, going to be just out of range as predicted? Or, wait, in the Crusade stance, we can in fact reach Brigand. Beautiful. Brigand, rather. Yes, go here. And would you look at that? And we do have enemies actually there. Jacques Necksnapper. And we got more gobs, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we certainly want to see the Fay Enchantress fight, and not just the caravans, you two. Still reinforce. until you're ready to go off on your own with your own armies, though that'll be a bit. And ooh, yes, definitely upgrade Dragon Falls. I want this to be upgraded to the Barracks of Valor as fast as possible. Gotta get some of those polearm units in the army, and we also need, we do now have the ability to grab the peasant mob. The only problem is Ferrignac is a different territory. Meaning, actually. Alright, and we'll want to grab the, Tactician, stand your ground. And Tactician has some good stuff on the Crownless Lords. These guys are for leading our Exile and our Peasantry army. Well, not Peasantry armies, Exile and Banditry armies. Mystique, okay, nothing interesting. Zephyr's Blessing, Barkskin. Yeah, the really good stuff is here. I'm very tempted to grab this just because it's so good that I wouldn't want to miss out on it. Yeah, you know what? I think we're gonna get to René Degnaud on field then. Although I guess we will, you know what? We'll do it after this battle here at Brigand and have 3 lords rather, following along, leeching XP. For now though, we're gonna have to fight. One moment. I would like to lose the Crusade stance now because it confers a debuff which is fairly severe, at least to the melee infantry. Ooh, and plus I'm interested to see what these guys look like on field. Let's find out. Alrighty, here we go. Got ourselves our first full stack on field now, and we've got to try out Bertrand the Brigand as well when he makes it here. And ooh, look at all of these banner-toting units. It makes the armies look a lot better, in my opinion. I find it odd that the devs that CA don't have that naturally without mods, especially since they essentially use banner symbols for the actual units themselves. Why not have them on the units? Maybe something to do with the animation of them, I don't know, I suppose it doesn't matter. What does matter is that we are going to wait a little bit, so where you don't really care about moving towards the enemy army. Of course, we do have artillery to call upon, and the Wardens of Montfort, who do have poison arrows, right? I wonder whether we should put these guys in the bandit army. I'll think about it. I would assume that the bandits have better choices for missile cab, but if they don't have poison to slow the enemy down, this single unit might be fairly valuable there. So certainly I'll think about it. Anyway, speaking of the unit, the Wardens of Wardens of Montfort. I got confused because the other ones are the Wardens of the Maisontal, or the Holy Wardens of the Maisontal. These guys will continue annoying the enemy, and actually, speaking of the Holy Wardens here, though they are behind the main line, and they have a little relic thing as well. I guess it doesn't count as a Grail. Doesn't count as a Grail relic that's just ahead, or does it? These guys are holy after all. Something is conferring that holiness. Anyway, the enemy squigs are still being irritated by the Wardens of Montfort, but in the meantime, the merry men have made their way onto the battlefield. Each one has a bow. Obviously, both lords and heroes that are ranged are, generally speaking, not all that great at it. Damage with a couple of exceptions, but I'm sure these guys can do their own thing. And yeah, the SFO stats. Alright, the submod is working, everything's working as it should. Anyway, the squigs are down to about half of their HP, and it looks like the AI has realized that it needs to start moving towards us, or it's going to take too much damage. Admittedly, the Wardens here have used up about half of their ammunition just irritating the squigs, but frankly, mounted yeomen aren't very good light cav, generally speaking. Though again, the Wardens are pretty okay. Solid damage and the poison. But certainly nothing compared to Empire Outriders or, for example, I would say the Hobgob Wolf Raiders. But anyway, the enemy is moving towards us now. We have not yet charged them with our Grail Guardians rather, but again with the first battles, the Grail Guardians can pretty much be expected to pretty much defeat an enemy army on their own with decent ease. And it's time for them to move. I would expect these guys to rank up to rank 9 probably within the first couple of episodes, because damn well are they going to get a ton of kills here. And with them, we will send Sir Malric again. Gotta get him killing some extra stuff, and if he can engage the enemy lord, why not? There we go, a bloody swath of destruction through the little pile of gobs, and then acceleration through the rest of them. Can't wait for a banner of swiftness on these guys as well. Alright, we sent some gobs flying, might as well send a few orcs flying as well. While the enemy army moves towards us, we can harass them with the Grail Guardians, who are effectively going to take no damage from them. Ooh, but they might take some damage from our own trebuchets. I am willing to bet that that 5 HP percent lost was from the treb hits, rather than anything that the enemy did, though these guys should regenerate their way through it anyway. Anyway, ooh, we got an effect out of Mr. Bertrand. It almost looked like a Doom Bolt. This is his ability Black Arrow, or Dark Arrow, or Venom Arrow. It is Black Arrow. Alrighty, which it does apply to a unit the Slow Death Poison. And thusly, I do believe it should be used against blobs of units. Alright, Amalric is in the middle of the fight, and our other paladin was trying to go after the enemy lord, but looks like got surrounded by piles of the enemy units. Of course, our Grail Guardians are still riding around, up to 35% of their HP now, and our slower moving, admittedly, merry men have arrived, and will be plinking away at the enemy with their bows here and there, while the main stack starts to, at long last, approach. Don't worry, they'll get their own peasant army. Or, well, yes, peasant army, but brigand army. Outlaw army, whatever you call it. I'll get used to it eventually. Anyway, the first elements of the enemy army have at long last arrived, smashing into the little pile of spearmen at arms. And the enemy lord, or actually the enemy lord is not this is a Black Orc Big Boss, has arrived and will be going after the Fay Enchantress together with her mob of peasants here. We got 45 melee attack on them, and in fact later we will use the Enchantress's ability on them to give them another plus 40 attack and help surround and just dish out slow damage to the Black Orc Big Boss. And the Grail Knights have returned. The Wardens of La Maison Tal have moved from our main army to start cutting down orcs and gobs where they can. But it looks like this army has a little hope, as it was mostly already defeated by the time it got to us. There we go, 85 melee attack on this little peasant mob now, and between that and the Fay Enchantress attacking him, this Black Orc Big Boss is down to about half of his HP, while having dealt no significant damage to us whatsoever. And I do believe he'll be routing shortly. The enemy lord has in the meantime been defeated by our two paladins and is booking it on out of there, and with him I do believe the enemy army loses heart and the battle is ours. A nice that we got to maintain our little ordered ranks here. But I'm sure the army will fall into disorder against the bigger battles to come. Alrighty, there we go. 14 losses, barely even had to sacrifice any peasants. Again, it's the starting episode with the first few battles against tiny little armies. Obviously, this is going to ramp up rather quickly, but for now, the first faction getting crushed is getting real crushed. Unsurprisingly, by the Grail Guardians, again, 606 kills and 66,000 damage on these guys. Very, very solid, and I guess we're getting getting kills by virtue or by eliteness. So the tier 5s get 606, then followed by the Blessed Field Trebuchets with the 205, and then the Wardens of La Maison Tal with 164, and the Wardens of Montfort. Yeah. Makes sense. Alrighty, well they did well, we got a Pigeon Plucker pendant out of it. Don't really care for the item except in certain compositions, but I suppose for any of our ranged armies, we could potentially use them to protect our piles of ranged peasantry, which are not going to be able to stand up to a lot of, well, enemy attacks. For now, we'll get some use out of it, I'm sure. Got a free bailiff, and hello. Ah, the blessing of the lady. Your deeds in noble and glorious battle have attracted the Fay, an ancient lady, who has seen fit to bless you with her favor as reward for your heroism. You shine now with a newfound radiance. Let no foe block your path. With the lady as your sword and shield, brook no resistance and strike down evil in her name. Your army has gained the blessing of the lady. Lovely. And yeah, it is 10 damage resistance, and oh, and an additional use for the affection army ability. That's nice. That's real nice, because we get a heal by virtue of the Blessing of the Fay. Very nice. Alright, we have Saint Jacques still remaining, and we got spices there. Ooh, do spices do anything interesting for us? Well, let's find out. Tradable resources produced +5 is something. Not anything I would call crazy or interesting in that manner. And oh no, there's Slaneshi nearby. Although the construction reduction out of the marble would make it easier to move into these mountains, yellow territory though it is. We do have the Skaven here at the Gnaw Pit. I don't remember who's around the Skaven, but it is a clanician over there, so we'll have to be concerned. But obviously the orcs are going to be the major threat, because at any moment, at any point in time, they could jump over the Urana Mountains and move into our territories. So we're going to have to work on them as fast as possible. Skaven Blight can do the same thing here, so they're going to be a threat until we can take care of them. Decent likelihood we'll have to fortify the Uranas. And at Chateau Levar as well. Anyway, what else do we have in terms of this particular turn? So, Bertrand, I would like you. +4 armor for Brigand units, weapon strength. Yeah, see, this is nice. It's not anything overpowered. I like it. We need to rank 10 for your unique line, so we'll leave that alone for now. I guess we'll get the additional XP out of Inspiring Presence, and we'll take a better look at +2 control all provinces. That's nice. Oh, and the Regiment of Renown serves him for free, which is not surprising. Flaming attacks from merry men. So that's the Bowmen of Bergerac, the Aspirant Hoods, but not the Herimo. Interesting. And for Lord's Army, aren't Crownless Lords lords rather than heroes? Oh, but I guess they're the Lord variant of the Faceless Hero, so sort of the same thing. The fact that this gives us flaming attacks for the entire army is interesting, though. This confers the burnt fire weakness, so we may want to combine it with a few peasant bowmen with fire arrows, assuming we don't have any other peasantry or brigand units that would confer any anti-fire weakness effect. There's something to think about, but anyway, I do believe we can end the turn. Yes, there's nothing to build. Almost tempted to uncollect the income here for the growth as well, but actually our growth is pretty okay. We'll replace the weaving house with a farm, though. Alright, now we can end the turn. And I'd just like to head on over to Saint Jacques before, like, these guys or somebody takes it over. And yeah, Bretonnia looks so dang is so dang tiny in Immortal Empires. It's definitely one of those factions. Kislev is also another one where it feels wrong almost to play them in Immortal Empires as opposed to the Old World, just because it feels like it's misrepresenting the territory. Territories, I should say. For the Empire is still obviously huge in Immortal Empires, but Bretonnia that is tiny. Hello, alright, so this is an SFO thing, I think. A Wrath and Peace of the Fay. Many whisper that the Fay Enchantress is the lady herself, but she denies these rumors. All the same, she speaks the lady's will and knows the lady's power. Hers is a strength that supports all of Bretonnia. So, we can get an item. And the Sword of Anti-Heroes and the Razor Standard are both good items, but let's see what we have here. So, Fay Enchantress, Wrathful Blessings right are enabled. Ooh, I should have looked at what... so wrathful or peaceful rights, eh? Huh, that's interesting. Growth plus 20 all provinces and Blood of Gyran. More heals, that's nice. Upkeep reduction for faction leaders, army, and control... Oh, wow, that's strong. The upkeep reduction doesn't really matter over much right now because our first stack is very cheap because it's full of peasants, but nonetheless. Character XP gain plus 10% and character experience gain per turn plus 300. Ooh, this is good in the early game too. Oh man. That's a hard choice. And a hard choice is always, well, good. Letting she giggle. Oh man, I got to go with... I mean, and it's the early game. I'm tempted to say the growth is the best pick here. And despite the not the better item or the fact that the control is really nice, it'll be a while until we have anything expensive in our army. So this is not super concerning right now. And yeah, I'm gonna go with growth. Although I am admittedly again tempted by the character XP gain. Especially in the early game with the character XP gain per turn 300 will help all of their early little heroes level up. Now, you know what? I might actually... It's basically provinces, which is growth, versus heroes and lords. And we don't have a lot of either, admittedly. Plus, we do get a Wrathful Blessing, whatever it is. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go for Anger. Alright. We did just get a growth thing, plus this way we get a Razor Standard for the Wardens of La Maison Tal, which would want it because they can't make use of the Lichbone Pennant, because they already have magical attacks. Now I want to see which right this enabled. I take it it's this one. Dream of Vengeance. Spell resistance 50% for all units. I mean, it's an alright right, but I think Dream of Hope is the better one. And either way, we'd pop off Vision of Magic next. Yeah. Alrighty, so hopefully the additional XP will be coming in real handy. Anyway, before we end off this first episode, we will take Saint Jacques to round out this entire province. I'm interested to see what commandments we have for Bretonnia. So you two, you've maxed out your mana. Good. We'll need to get some damsels ASAP as well. We just need to make sure that we get the, well, buildings to get them on field. Brigand obviously farms for growth, and actually, you know what? Before upgrading that, we want to see the commandments. So, you get this. Lovely. You're going to be sort of the linchpin of the Fay Enchantress's army that isn't Grail Guardians, and auto-resolve. We don't need to fight these guys again. We'll take severe damage, but the peasantry will always take severe damage. Alrighty, and with that, I do believe this first enemy faction is destroyed. Our first full territory is up and running. We had plus 60 growth. Alright, yeah, I think judging by how much growth we can get via other means, it was probably a good decision to... we can go for growth as well. We'll do the spices after. It was probably a good decision to go the way we went. And construction cost reduction for all buildings and a research rate as well. Ooh, that's nice. That's very nice. Alrighty, we're going to start with the construction and the research rate. And this will only save us 200, so I'd rather save the turn, so we'll immediately upgrade Ferignac. Technology-wise, we will immediately go into the construction cost reductions. And there's almshouses for growth as well, which is nice as well. Anyway, with that, folks, we are out of time, and I am going to have to call this first episode here. Next time, since our army is cheap, we'll probably try to build our first brigand camp and start getting Bertrand's army up and running so he can go off and do his own thing, probably fighting the orcs in these mountains, while the Fay Enchantress, which is... makes a lot more sense to me, starts putting down the undead of the ghosts of Glan Boreal, and puts us closer to the Wood Elves here, which we will eventually want to align with. Hopefully they don't take any significant landmarks. I assume that there's still a landmark at Caravans in the old world, but we'll see. Anyway, we will want to leverage the tolerance to Carcassonne to get Wood Elf units. Anyway, definitely more Bretonnia to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.